and welcome to the latest episode of my knitting and sewing and crafting podcast. My name on Instagram is Orchid's Heart and I'm filming for you today from Birmingham, where I live. It's kind of the introduction. I'm in a different room today, as you probably noticed. I'm actually in my living room. I'm here because it's the coolest room in the house. We are in England and I think a lot of Europe right now experiencing a bit of a heat wave. I think it's about 35 degrees outside at the moment. I know that's normal for big parts of Europe, but for England, especially somewhere like Birmingham, that's not normal. I think British summer is normally about 25 degrees. So it's about 10 degrees hotter than it's meant to be. You know, maybe sometimes it does get into the high 20s when it's really, really hot here. But it was almost 40 a couple of weeks ago. In fact, I think it did get to 40. And I have lived in places where that's normal. I can't say I enjoy it. I lived in Italy for a bit when I was a child. Not very long, but enough to experience a 40-degree summer. And I just remember we just used to lie on the floor because the floor was made of marble. So we used to lie on the floor in the kitchen. Because houses are obviously built for hot countries when you live in places like that. And when I used to live in Paris, sometimes it would get that hot in the summer and you just wouldn't want to go outside. It was just horrid because in a city, there's no break from it. You know, I'm sure like most people say, oh, the hottest time of day is midday. I'm sure when you live in a city, it just gets hotter and hotter and hotter because the heat gets stored up and all the concrete. It's just unbearable. But anyway, I'm being really British here and talking about the weather. But so I'm in the living room. Normally it's a mess in here because we're very, very slowly doing some work in here. But we cleared up and tidied up a bit so that because my mother and some family were meant to be coming to stay, but due to the heat wave, we cancelled. She didn't feel comfortable driving up with her dog in the heat, which is, you know, fair enough. It's not so far, but you know, if they'd broken down or something, it would have been a serious health risk for both of them. So I have a surprise long weekend to myself, which I'm about halfway through now. I did some gardening yesterday morning before it got too hot. You might have seen a clip of that. I went out for brunch with a friend yesterday morning with her kids. That was really lovely. And then last night I went for a beer in a brewery up the road. But I made a point of not going until it started to cool down a bit. And I'm probably doing the same later. Because otherwise I won't leave the house. So it's significantly cooler downstairs in this house. In fact, in the winter, it's so cold in here that it's just unbearable. But as I mentioned before, we're building essentially a furnace to put in the living room, which is, you can't see, but it's going to be in front of me. And I fully intend this winter to be sat on this sofa in front of the fire knitting cosy socks. I'm so excited for that. And I will be showing off our wood burner every available opportunity because it's been coming for so long and I really can't wait. And we were talking this morning about finally cutting a hole through the house to put the pipe through the house. We're hoping that will actually warm up some of the rooms above this as well, and that it will generally heat most of the house a bit more. So that's really exciting. Is this what being 30 means, that you get excited about not being cold? No, I mean, to be honest, the idea of having a wood burner, it's one of those things that when we go away for my birthday in January, when we stay in a cabin somewhere in the countryside, because that's generally what I asked to do for my birthday, it's one of the things I get really excited about, is having a wood burner. So it kind of feels like having a bit of, I don't know, holiday-ness in our home. Having a wood burner, or I just think it's really cosy and really lovely, and I'm always really envious of people who get to cozy up in front of fires in the winter. So I'm going to be one of those people. I'm going to be really smug until I realise how much work it is, and then maybe less so. I don't know. But anyway, knitting talk. So what have I done lately? I went to London the other day for work, so I did briefly pop into Loop London. Wasn't too much of a success, but maybe I'll chat about that in a bit. It's because it's been so warm, I don't think I've done as much knitting as I normally do, but I have cast on a few things, have finished something, and I've picked up a bit of a languishing whip, so let's have a look. Ooh. So, where to start? I thought I'd briefly show you, actually I'm also going to tell you about some things I'm going to fix or redo. Yeah, so I thought I'd just really briefly show you this. This is my Vertices Unite. I showed it to you guys last time because I had finished knitting most of it, but I hadn't done the border. But I did really briefly, quickly want to show the I-cord border because I think it's really neat. Like, I love that curve on that edge and the way all of those lines meet up and connect, which I guess that's why it's called Vertices Unite. There's another good one. I mean, it's just such a satisfying finish. I think this is where the I-cord starts and ends, which is why there's a little bulge there. Yeah, that's where I started like picking up and doing the I-cord bind off. Yeah, I mean, where's the other point? Well, I like this one because I like the colour combination. The pinks and the yellow and the purple. So this is the Vertices Unite by Stephen West. I knit mine in a collection of mostly woolly mammoth fibre comb natural sock, with the exclusion of this yellowy one, which is British wool by Nellie and Eve, so they're all naturally dyed. I'm not sure it's the most practical knit for me. These are colours that would go with my summer wardrobe, but this is a very big woolly scarf. In theory, I guess having something to put around your shoulders on a summer's evening is really nice. I've got to be honest, I took it out with me once for such an event a few weekends ago. I was having a barbecue in my friend's garden, and it was just a bit awkward actually. I had my denim jacket and this, and I was potentially even wearing this top to be honest, and yeah, it felt a bit weird putting a big woolly scarf on with a denim jacket and a sleeveless top in July. I don't know, I feel like everyone looked at me weirdly as well. I mean, my friends are used to me having odd knits and knitting pretty much all the time, but yeah, so I don't know, I think it would look nice with my main winter coat, which is like a teal colour. It's wool, and when it's wrapped up around the neck, which I've just done a really bad job of, you know, the colours all do look really nice together and it is really cosy like a scarf. So I think, to be honest, even though it's summer colours, it probably is going to be a winter's item. So yeah, not worn it, but it's like, I think if I was travelling, I would quite like it because it's got like quite blankety qualities as well. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see about that. I don't really know how much I'll use it, but I really enjoyed knitting it. It was a really fun pattern. I probably will knit another one in earthy colours, and it was quite good for using some mini skeins, and I just had good fun with it, so I don't regret knitting it. And you know, if I don't use it loads, that's okay as long as I use it some. You know, I've got a shawl that I do wear all the time, which I just realised I meant to bring downstairs to explain something, but you know, it's nice to have options. So that was that. The other finished object, is there another finished object? No, I don't think there is. I don't think I finished anything. I have a nearly finished object, so maybe let's do that next. I mentioned last time, I don't think I'd started it, that I was going to do a summery, sorry my hair is on everything, I was going to do a summery wrap top using this yarn by Zakami. It was in the reduced bin at a yarn festival I went to recently. Now, I think the reason why it was in the reduced bin, I thought it was because there's odd skeins, but there's little bits, so basically when I took the band off, there was a patch that was not dyed, and so it has bright white sort of bits in it on that patch where it didn't dye. Probably the tie around the skein was too tight, and so the dye didn't get to it. Now, you know, it's not really the end of the world. It's a bit annoying because bright white doesn't really go with the colour scheme. But, you know, once it's knit up, it doesn't really stand out too much. I mean, you can see where they are, but it's not really the end of the world. I did have this really crazy thought of getting a brown Sharpie and colouring them in. I resisted. I have to say, the reason why this occurred to me is because it's my mother's method of dealing with chipped paint, or the dog once ate, not the current dog, a puppy we had when we were little, ate chunks of the carpet and left, or like he wasn't eating it, but he was pulling it out and left like bare bold patches in the carpet. And so she used to get a Sharpie and colour it in so you couldn't see, or you know, you wouldn't notice as much. It is amazing how much you can cover up with a Sharpie. I really don't think I should be colouring in undyed parts of my knitting with one though. Who knows? It could happen. My mother's DNA might crawl through and I might start testing that. No, I'm going to resist because who knows what that would do. So I have nearly finished it. It's kind of hard to show not on. I keep getting in a tangle as well. So I've got 3/4 of one tie left to do. I'm trying to show this in a way where you can actually see what it is. So I've started the second tie, and it's a wrap front top. So, God, my hair is on everything. So, let me think, how can I show this? Is it going to be possible? Oh, not really, kind of. So it wraps at the front. Now, I'm sure the smallest size said it was going to use 400 meters. So I thought, because I really should have done the second size for my chest measurement, but I thought, well, I'm basically flat chested, so probably I can get away with making the smallest one, and then I'll definitely have enough yarn with one skein. Now, you know, I've nearly finished the second tie, and I still have this left, so I think I could have made the second size. It does fit. I can put it on, and it does kind of close at the front, but it's extremely booby. It's very booby. It's quite low, and I don't really do booby. So sorry, I'm just melting everywhere. I don't know how much I'm going to wear it. It's also really short. A lot shorter. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what my hair's doing. I had it tied up in a bun before this, and I don't know, it just didn't look great. So I was trying to do something about it, but consequently, I've just got hair everywhere. So I don't really know what I'm gonna do, because I'm sure it's like only down to about just under my boobs, and I kind of feel like if I'm not careful, I might show off more than I want to. I mean, it already shows off more than I want to, but like seriously more. So I can't even really wear it around the house at home so much, because normally when I'm hanging around the house at home, I'm working, and that would be wildly inappropriate to wear on a Zoom call. It would just be too low cut. And it's not really the kind of thing that you'd wear underneath something. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that. Maybe if I'm feeling really brave, I would wear it with high-waisted trousers. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's not that I have any issues about showing my body off. I definitely don't. I just sometimes, you know, do you really want to risk flashing? I don't think I do. Also, I'd have to wear a lot of sun cream. For it to be warm enough to wear that, I'd have to wear a lot of sun cream. And that with a knitted wrap top just all seems a bit sweaty and gross. So I don't know about that. We'll see. But it was really easy and quite an enjoyable knit. You do the back and then the two front panels, you seam them together, you 3 needle bind off the shoulders, and then you pick up to do the ties. The ties are really boring to do because they're quite long. It kind of did my head in. I really had to make myself do it that long. Probably could have benefited from it being even longer so that I could wrap round to the front and do a bow at the front. That would have been quite nice, but I got bored. So they are quite stretchy, so I don't know how long I've actually got of a cord. We'll find out when I've finished. But it's quite a good thing to do when you're having a beer. So I'm going to take that with me later and try and nearly finish the second one if possible. Yeah, with the drink that I'm having later with a friend. She's very used to me knitting pretty much everywhere, so she won't mind. But yes, that's that. And then my languishing whip. So in January, I started this. And I wanted them to be my January socks because like moons, new moon, new you, I thought that was really nice. But I think I agreed to some test knits in January too really quickly, and I kind of overwhelmed myself. And then by the time I came back to them, I don't know, I think it was spring and I wasn't really feeling it. So this was the one that I knit back in January or February, whenever it was. And so it is a plain vanilla sock, but I've lifted some of the colourwork charts from Pikkukimalainen's Harvest Moon socks. And I used Jowell's sock yarn in the charcoal colour, and then some sock yarn by a indie dye called Nervus Fibre. And so it's pretty much like an off-white grey colour, but it has lots of flecks in it. So it just means the moons have some like oomph in them colour-wise. Now, I don't think this is something that anybody other than myself is necessarily going to know or notice. You can see a bit there. But it brought me great satisfaction whilst knitting it, seeing all the slightly different colours. And I just think it makes it look a little bit less two-dimensional. I don't really like flat colours that much. That's something I've really noticed, that tonal is really what I like. And so I know the other one was quite variegated on the wrap top, but that's probably about as variegated as I go. And so I decided, because I have in my mind that all these socks I want to make, but I strung up all of my odd socks where I'd knit half a pair on a line in my sewing room. And I thought, really, before I start any more pairs of socks, I should start finishing the pairs I've already started. Because I think I had 4 half pairs of socks. Now I know that some people have more, but it just seemed to me really silly to keep knitting odd socks. Just because obviously the first one's really interesting to knit, and then the second one you're doing the same thing again. And I was a bit worried about my gauge changing, but I think it's pretty much the same. So as you can see, the moons on the other sock go in the opposite direction. She gives 2 different charts. So hers are all over colourwork, but I feel life is too short to do all over colourwork at socks, because because of the colours and because they're woolly, I probably will only wear them when it's cold. And so something I discovered last year when I made my mushroom socks, that with my boots you couldn't see the mushrooms because I did the leg too short. So I made a conscious effort with these. I tried this on as I went to make sure that the moons were visible above my boots, the cuff. So they should be long enough. So I think I actually will wear these a lot because this is the longest leg I've knit on a sock, and I find this sock yarn really hard wearing. I have another pair that I knit sometime last year and I wear them a lot and they show no signs of wear at all. And it's because they come with this little, I've shared this before, comes with this little spool of reinforcement thread that you hold for the heels and toes. So that's been what I've been doing with that. Yeah, after I finish my wrap top, that will probably become my small portable project once I finish the heel. You know, that's easy to carry around and do the foot. So yeah, that's been my, part of my wrap top, my portable project. And then in here, so I have to say, I mean, we've had a lot of clear outs in family homes recently, and this basket turned up. Now I know it's plastic. But this basket is as old as me. I had this when I was little, and I do think it must have been quite big actually when I was little. This is a kids' Japanese supermarket basket. I had all of my, we lived in Japan when I was little, all of my plastic food in here, you know, like pretending going shopping and stuff. And so this is from my childhood, and for various reasons I don't have very many things from my childhood. So even though it's really garish and plastic and kind of ugly, I'm really fond of it. It was also, I've been using it when we go stay with my partner's parents to just dump all of my knitting stuff in. It's been quite helpful because my other baskets are quite big, and it meant that I could rein in a little bit with what I was taking, because I get a bit carried away when I go away and take loads of stuff. So at the moment it has my shawl work in progress, which I'll try and stretch out and show you. So this is knit using this really gorgeous, I would say it's a little bit lighter than you can see on screen. It's a Wensleydale and something blend, I can't remember, but I'll put it in the description below. It's really soft, and it's got a really nice halo, and it's naturally dyed with Tansy and Indigo by Shilsadair on the Isle of Skye. This was a yarn I got on holiday when we went to Scotland a few months ago, and I've been really impatiently wanting to knit up a shawl in it. Now, I started the shawl 4 times maybe. First time because the gauge on the needles, I wanted to size down, it looked really baggy. And then I had this big thing where, so the other shawl I made, which I wear a lot, and the Waiting for Rain shawl, which I made Woolly Mammoth Fibre Gotland blend yarn, which also has a bit of a halo, without it being mohair, like a rustic halo. Because it's got an edge where I think you knit 2 and yarn over, like the ends of the shawl when you're wearing it curl up a bit like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know, like they curl up. When I blocked it, I couldn't get it to block flat, and it's really tight on the edge. And so I tried lots of things with this. You know, people suggested using a bigger needle size for the cast on edge, but I don't really understand the practicalities of that, because with that kind of edge on a shawl, it's the last 2 stitches and the first 2 stitches on every row. So I'm not sure people are suggesting using a different needle for the first 2 stitches and the last 2 stitches of every row. That to me sounds really hard. So I didn't want to do that. I tried doing an extra yarn over. That didn't really work. It didn't seem to make any difference, because for this one it was slip 1, knit 1, yarn over. No, slip 1, knit 1, knit, yarn over, knit, and that was the first 3 and last 3 stitches of every right side row. It was kind of similar on the back, and it was really tight, so I did an extra yarn over thinking that would free that up, and it didn't, and it just meant I got really confused with yarn count, stitch counts and things like that, so that didn't work. And so then I decided, on someone's suggestion, to not do the yarn over and just knit front back. Now, because the increased stitch on one side is knit, yarn over, knit, that's increasing 2 stitches in one space. It meant I had to knit front back in 2 stitches. So that is what I'm doing, and it does mean I have to really think about it when I'm doing it. So even though it's a really straightforward pattern, there is some thinking involved for me, because I need to make sure that I am doing that without it messing up the pattern. I can't tell yet whether it's making a great deal of difference. There is a bit of give, but I really wanted a crescent shaped lacy shawl with this yarn. I did think about doing a cabled irregular triangle shaped shawl, or a crescent shawl by Stephen West, which was a textured shawl, the Dustland shawl. But I wanted a lacy with a bit of stock in there, or garter stitch crescent shaped shawl, so that's what I'm doing. The tab cast on thing is like curled over a bit, which I'm not really happy about. I'm hoping I can either block it flat or block it so it's curling the other way at least. But I think when you've got it wrapped around your neck, ultimately you're not really going to see the things that are annoying me. You'll just see the squishy fabric, and I'll feel how soft it is, and I will enjoy wearing it. So I'm going to keep going. I knit nearly all of this before when I ripped it out, so I'm about to start the second lace panel. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. And on here I have one of my progress keepers by Under the Willow Pottery, I think her name is. which is really cute. And I'm really enjoying it. However, it's getting me in the mood for autumn knits, and it's not quite that vibe yet. So I'm trying to not wish away summer, because when winter sets in, I'm going to really regret not having made the most of it. So although I am getting those kind of like those vibes for autumn knits, but yeah, so I'm really enjoying that. So it's called the Dreamy Shawl. Don't know who it's by. It's a free pattern. Dreamy spelt weirdly, so I'll put it in the description below. It is a free pattern. I'll let you know when I've finished what I think of the pattern. It is easy if you do it as per instructions, rather than messing with the edges. It is an easy pattern. The lace is just created by standard like yarn overs and knit togethers and things like that. So yeah, but it feels gorgeous. I'm really, really loving the yarn from Shilsadair. It's really soft and cozy. So that's it on like current whips. I wanted to have a bit of a chat about so I was going through my cupboard a few weeks ago. So I taught myself to knit. I followed YouTube, and the first jumper I made is terrible. Actually, this is the second jumper I made. The first jumper I made, I knit flat and seamed together. It has no short rows, and so it really rides up at the back. I do still wear it sometimes with certain like things like dungarees. It kind of holds the back down a bit, but it's kind of like this top where it just really sticks out and it's a bit awkward. And you probably noticed I kept with this top, I do tug the back down a bit. For people that are interested, this is, oh god, I can't remember the name of the top pattern. I will have to put the pattern down, but it's a wrap top, and I omitted the wrap section. I think I just used the front panel and the back panel and stitched it together, and possibly made it shorter. It doesn't really work, but the fabric is really pretty. It's a double gauze by Nani Iro. That's probably said wrong, but it's a Japanese designer. Her fabric is absolutely gorgeous. But I am not sure that this was the best thing to make this top with. I have more of this fabric and I don't know what to do with it because it's kind of precious. But I feel like double gauze is really impractical. I have a dress that I've made with double gauze that I wear a lot. I just can't imagine a dress made from this. I might make a blouse if there's enough. But to be honest, it tracks my hair like Velcro, so I'm always pulling my hair off it. And yeah, it just really wasn't the right kind of combo. But yeah, so the first jumper I made is a bit like that. The second jumper I made, so this is the first jumper I knit that had short rows, it had shaping, it was like, in inverted commas, a proper jumper. And so this is the Felix pullover. And I don't know if you can tell. Now, even now, I'm not entirely sure if this is the reason why it looks so bad. I think all of the stitches are twisted and it's created some kind of weird ribbed texture. I don't know. I also think that potentially the yarn wasn't the right gauge because it's really see-through. Like, it just... I did wear it quite a few times, as you can tell, like, you know, it has, and it has bobbled a bit, and from a distance, it doesn't look so bad. The sleeves are a bit too long. So it's like a cropped green jumper. You know, and I was really pleased with myself when I made it, don't get me wrong, incredibly proud. But I look at it now and I don't wear it because I think it's a bit of a hot mess and it looks very homemade, like very homemade. So this isn't all the yarn I have. I have a few upstairs as well because I think I started knitting this and it all went a bit wrong, so I ripped it out. And then this is when I knit this. I think it's DK yarn and this pattern was meant to be Aran, but when I knit it I didn't really understand what that meant. So this is pure wool or something like that by Rowan, and I'm pretty sure it's DK. And to me, this is a colour I call Kelly Green. I think that might be an Americanism. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know where the term Kelly Green comes from, but I'm sure that's something I used to encounter quite a lot. But anyway, I've decided I'm going to re-knit it. So I'm going to try and unpick it somehow. I reckon I might lose some of the yarn when I do that because I don't know what will happen where I've weaved in ends and things like that. I also think that's another thing where I didn't know about split splicing. Where I've woven in ends, it's really messy. I don't think you could be able to see on the camera. So I'm going to knit the Felix jumper again, but I'm going to steek it and make it a cardigan. And to bulk it up, I realised in my stash I had some of this. Now, this has been hanging out in my stash and I haven't used it because I have mixed feelings about it. It's Drops Kid Silk. I know a lot of people talk about Drops and they really like it. I believe it's quite cheap, so you know that's good for some people. But it does worry me that if it's that cheap and none of it is synthetic, then what is the animal welfare? I did look at buying, is it Knitting for Olive mohair, but I had this, so I thought what's the point in buying more? I have enough to do a Felix pullover with this, so I may as well use it. I don't know how well the colours will go together. It'll be an experiment, but I'm going to knit a size bigger. I'm going to steek the front because I know there is a Felix cardigan pattern, but that means you've got to knit back and forth and I don't want to do that. So I'm hoping that that could be a nice experiment, and that might be one of my next projects. I do have another project I've literally decided in the last couple of days I'm going to do first. But I think that could be quite quick once I've unravelled this, which will be quite satisfying, I think, because quite frankly I kind of hate it. Like where I've woven in the ends and joined it and everything, it's just like a mess. So can you see? I think it's really, really stretched out. Look, it's just horrid. So it's really exciting to knit that again and make something a lot more wearable and new. I don't really have enough cardigans in my wardrobe, and I think a green cardigan would be quite useful. It probably will still be quite cropped, but yeah, so that'll be nice. And then another thing I want to rescue. So I think sometime after that, quite soon after, I knit another Felix jumper and I realised that I was twisting my stitches and I got my act together and sorted it out. And I knit this. This was one of my first lace projects because there's a little bit of lace at the bottom, and that's when I realised knitting lace really wasn't that bad. But this was quite good because you could do a bit and then if you went wrong, it was the first thing you did, you could start it again, and it wasn't very overwhelming because it was only a few rows. This is when I also realised the power of blocking. I do think with this, my short row scenario, I didn't know what I was doing, so I do have, is it short rows? No, it was like it was increases. I didn't know what I was doing, so there are some small holes where I've done my increases. But this is the Mount Pleasant tee by Pip and Pin. This might be the wrong way around. I don't know. That's something else I want to do. I want to put a label in the back. And that is in Woolly Mammoth Fibre Co. I think it was in one of her limited edition yarns in the mustard colour. But now this might be something that I insert a photo of before and after me wearing it. So I did knit this pattern again in a really drapey soft yarn by Garthenor, the Presley yarn. And I noticed, I think I'm in between knitting the two of them, I must have read something about picking up stitches. So I don't know if you can tell, but the cuff on this really isn't very good. It's wonky. It's a bit wider in some places than others. But I picked up too many stitches. I think I picked up every single stitch. And I know now that that's not what you do, that you pick up, is it 5 and 7 or something like that? to get like the best ratio. And I think that's what I did on my second one, and it means the cuff it sits really nicely, it follows the shape of your shoulder. This one, it goes like it sticks out like that, and so the cuff really sticks out, and I don't like it. It really annoys me. And so I've had this potentially over maybe 2 years. Gosh, I've been knitting 3 years. I've been knitting since just before COVID. So I think I knit this during COVID. So I've probably had this 2 years. And I've only worn it a couple of times because the cuff thing really annoys me. And I do actually really like wearing it in the autumn over a long sleeved stripy top with something high-waisted. This one's a bit shorter than my other one. And so it is a little bit too short, but you know, it still works with high-waisted things or over a dress. It was quite nice, but because of the cuff situation, it looks ridiculous. So I feel like that'd be a really quick job to rip those out, re-pick that up and re-knit that. So that's also on my to-do list to mend. And then I essentially have a new knitted top. So that's also on the pile to be re-knit. I do have a couple of other things in my cupboard that I could contemplate re-knitting. But that's where I'm going to start for the moment. So I might actually this afternoon start by unpicking my green jumper. Now I have to be honest, I probably won't soak the yarn. I'll probably just re-knit with it curly because I'm not too worried. And the mohair will probably disguise it. So, oh, I'm getting a bit creaky. Yeah, and that's kind of it with my whips. The project I was referring to that I'm thinking about casting on. So I bought the other day on sale. I noticed that Wool Warehouse had a sale on a couple of Rowan yarn colours. And I mentioned last time that I won this really bright red Le Petit Lamb's wool by Bichet Bouche. Yeah, it's that way around, not Boucher Biche. And they had what looked like really dark red yarn on sale on Wool Warehouse. This is Rowan Kid Silk Haze. So I bought 4 skeins of this, or maybe just 3. Enough to have the same meterage. And I thought if I had a dark red and I combined it with the bright red, I would calm it down. As you can see, it's not really that much darker. It's actually a bit pinky. So I don't really know how I feel about it. I think so there's a pattern called the Hobbiton Vest by Fable Knitwear, and it's a knitted button-down waistcoat basically, and she looks amazing in it. She has it over a slightly unbuttoned white shirt with high-waisted trousers, and it looks really like vintagey. It just looks, she looks really good in it. And I have the exact kind of amount of yarn for it. So I wasn't going to swatch because it was a small item, you know, it's just a waistcoat. It's not so much bigger than the wrap top I've just made. But I think I will swatch just to see what colour this comes out because I'm not really sure. I'm a bit annoyed because this really isn't the colour it looked like on screen. I thought it was going to be like a wine red, and that would have definitely calmed this down. I'm a bit worried this is going to be some bright pink horrid combo. Yeah, so I don't know. I was quite excited to use this yarn in a way if it was more me. So we'll see how that comes out. But yeah, I'll try and remember to put a picture of that pattern in over here somewhere if I haven't already, because it is really cute. I am really undecided whether it is something I would wear or not. Back when I used to teach, I think I would have worn it a lot because I would have gone for that shirt and high-waisted trouser vibe. Now, I guess my job allows me to be a bit more casual. I do actually wear my dungarees to work quite a lot, so that kind of puts that into context. But maybe it would be nice to wear something a bit more, I don't know, a bit different sometimes. Also, my white shirt, the last time I wore it, I realised how see-through it was. So maybe it'd be quite nice to wear over a white shirt because then you wouldn't see how see-through it was. I don't know. Yeah, so that maybe. And I did go to Loop London. I was working at Kew Gardens the other day, and so I went up the day before and stayed the night in London. I had a birthday voucher back in January, and I did use a little bit of it, but I still had a considerable amount left, so I went to Loop London, and I really want to knit a really basic, chunky rib cardigan for the autumn and winter out of a yarn I can wear next to skin, because I have lots of woolly items I can't wear on my bare skin. So in the autumn, when you have, I don't know, 3/4 length sleeve dress or something like that, it's not, you know, a lot of my knits I can't wear on my bare skin, so I end up wearing things with bought instead. So I wanted something that was like rustic looking but not rustic feeling on my skin. But I also really wanted to try spin cycle yarns. So I thought, well, it's a birthday voucher. It was for, you know, for my 30th. I should try spin cycle because I really want to try it. I'm wanting to try it for a year, but it's really expensive. So I thought I would knit Andrea Mowry's new pattern, her Alpenglow jumper. I really like it. There's some that look really pretty, and it's got, for my size, 1 skein of spin cycle yarn. So I thought it's an excuse to try it, and I only need to buy 1 skein. So I will use my voucher to buy my skein of spin cycle yarn and contribute to the rest of the yarn for the jumper. Whether I buy that from, you know, if I end up buying that yarn from Loop. If not, I'll use it to put towards the rib cardigan. Anyway, they obviously were cleared out of spin cycle because everyone wants to knit that pattern at the moment. So they only had blues, and that wasn't what I wanted. I do wear blues, but not so much in the autumn and winter, so it wouldn't have gone with the right clothes. And I didn't want to just buy something for the sake of it. So I thought, right, well, I'll get the yarn then for my cardigan. So I spent an obscene amount of time umming and ahhing over colours for that cardigan. The recommended yarn is like Snellfug, or however you say it, by Camo Rose. And it's like a really light alpaca wool fuzzy thick yarn. It's an Aran weight pattern, and I was like, you know, I wear a lot of brown in the winter, so I think I was imagining like a browny grey colour. Anyway, I somehow talked myself into dark green was a good colour, so I bought that. And I came away from the shop and I really didn't feel that good about my decision. The woman in the shop said a rust colour cardigan would have been like, would look really nice with my clothes, because I showed her some of my pictures on Instagram, and she was really helpful and really lovely because I was just generally very indecisive. And I came away and I thought, oh, she's right. I knit my minimalist cable cardigan in green yarn. I'm about to knit a green Felix pullover cardigan. Why am I knitting another green cardigan? Like, okay, I have no issue having multiple cardigans in green, but this does seem silly. I should knit a different colour. I also realised I didn't really want it to be fuzzy, even if that's the yarn the pattern suggests. I wanted to knit it in something like Gilliatt by Durham Natura, which definitely I can wear on my bare skin, but it's not got any halo. It's a lot more of like a really bog standard chunky wool, but it's got a bit of a tonal effect to it colour-wise. But they didn't have that in the quantity I needed in any of the colours I wanted. So I thought this is ridiculous. I went back and said, I'm really sorry, I've made a mistake on colour. You're right, it needs to be a rust colour, but you don't have any of the colours in the quantity I want in stock. Can I return the yarn? This has been like an hour after I'd left, and they were really lovely and they let me, and it all got, so I'd spent a bit more than was on my gift card, so it all got refunded to a gift card. So I have still spent the money. But it's fine because when that yarn comes in stock in the colour I want, I will order it. And it just, you know, I just need to be patient. I think that was the lesson I learned there. Like, I really wanted to come away with my birthday present yarn, and I realised that I was just being impatient and silly, and that I needed to wait. So maybe I annoyed the staff, I don't know, but they were very gracious about it, so I'm very grateful. I should have just realised that I just, you know, I don't get to go to Loop London very often, and I wanted to make the most of that time I had there. So I handled that not very well. I did, however, come away with 1 skein of Daughter of a Shepherd's new sock yarn. Drover. So this is 50 grams of British wool. So it just says British wool with 10% nylon. And I think it's a sport weight because it's 166 metres. And it's come from the Yorkshire Hills and Mountains. Oh, it does say what breed. It's Hebridean and Zwarptals. And it suggests 2.5mm needles. So it's almost black. She has 3 shades, and I think I chose the darkest because a little while ago I bought a skein of Snowdonia when Garthenor had a sale on yarn. And, you know, I had this in like a medium grey. So I have a bit of a collection going of rustic, neutral sock yarns. This is, oh no, it's come undone. Oh, it doesn't look so pretty now. This is, I'm being silly. This is the Hearth by Woolly Mammoth Fibre Company. And then I've got the Snowdonia by Garthenor, and this one by Drover by Daughter of a Shepherd. I did also pull out of my stash, I have some by John Arbon, the Exmoor sock. So this is in the colour Mizzle. Because I did wonder if maybe some colourwork socks would be good. Now, I'm aware these are very similar to the colours I knit my moon socks in, and yes, it does tempt me to knit another pair of moon socks in rustic yarn, but that would be silly. But I don't know. These are definitely going to be 3x1 rib, long, chunky winter socks. These have no nylon in. This also has no nylon in, but I did naturally dye this tiny skein of mohair not that long ago when I was doing my indigo dyeing. And I did think that maybe on the heel, that could be quite nice to hold with that. See what happens. I don't know. Or maybe I would cheat and use some of this on a heel. I don't know, but that's kind of some autumn projects I think I'll be doing. I'll be knitting some nice autumn socks. But yeah, that's kind of where things are. I did actually have one sewing project. I made this, so this is the, what's it called? Demeter dress top, but I've cropped it substantially. Well, I cut it out as per the pattern, but I've got a really wide hem. So, let's kind of double that to make it quite short. And this is Atelier Brunette bias binding, and then a little label that says I love linen. Now, in truth, this is a linen and viscose blend. It was a piece of fabric I had left over from making a quilt. It's not the softest at all. I can really feel the difference between this and 100% linen. I think really it would have been nicer in 100% linen because I have been wearing this because it's so hot without a bra, and I think that would have felt nicer if it had been 100% linen. But I am really pleased with it, and I have been wearing it a lot, and probably I'm going to put it on later when I go out. But yeah, so I've been really enjoying that. So I do really recommend that as a top pattern. I think it's I wish this was this shape because this shape wears much better. I made it and I left the hem for last, and I tried on some trousers and things and put a pin in where I wanted the hem to end, so when you have short to make it, because it is quite short but just about long enough that it looks right with high-waisted things. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. So that's it. I was really hoping this was only going to be 40 minutes long, but I can tell this video is definitely going to be the standard hour. It's just, as I've mentioned before, with hotter weather, my computer can't handle the rendering, and so it takes a lot more time to get videos up. So I did want to put in some clips of me gardening and things like that, but depending on how my computer handles the heat, I might wait to edit this until it cools down a bit next week. But yeah, so if you don't see any gardening videos, it's because it couldn't handle it. Yeah, thank you very much. I need to go have a glass of water and cool down a bit, and I will catch up with you soon. Bye.